So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome and introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Stefan Simonian, tonight here at UCLA. Dr. Simonian is a general child and adolescent psychiatrist. He completed his medical school at Shiraz University in Tehran in his general child and adolescent psychiatric residency at New York Metropolitan Hospital. Concomitant to his fellowship, Dr. Simonian completed his psychoanalytic courses, including his own required personal psychoanalysis at New York Metropolitan Hospital Center. He then went to Milford, Massachusetts, where he practiced general child and adolescent psychiatry for 19 years. He's been the chief of the Department of Psychiatry at Milford Waynesville Hospital for several years. In 1990, Dr. Simonian started his personal psychiatric organ therapy, the Reich therapy, and analysis with Dr. Morton Herskovich. In 1991, he became a member of Institute of Ergonomic Science, IOS, an institute which is dedicated to promote and preserve Dr. Wilhelm Reich's work. Dr. Simonian is a diplomate of American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology, and presently is practicing in Glendale, California. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Simonian here. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So thank you all for coming. And I also want to thank you, Soma, for introducing me to this event so we can have opportunity to introduce Dr. Reich. First to start with, I want to tell you how I myself was introduced to Dr. Reich, how I come to know Dr. Wilhelm Reich. When I was in second year of residency training, there were lots of theories, of psychiatric theories, psychoanalytic theories, and quite accidentally, I pulled out a book in the library which says Reich's Books of Freud. And when I started to read a little bit, there were lots of confusion about psychiatric theories, different psychiatrists and different approaches. A student of psychiatry was generally lost in those theories. So when I started reading this book, Reich's Books of Freud, this is a question and answer book. Someone from New York Psychoanalytic Institute has gone to Rangeley, Maine, which Dr. Reich at that time was residing, and interviewed Dr. Reich. This interview, when one reads, at least when I started reading it, it was so clear, and I was marveled by Dr. Reich's talking. I realized that he knows what he's talking about. His ideas was precise, clear. So I couldn't free myself from him, and I continued pursuing his theories and writings. I did it underhandedly because there is no teachings going on in any of the institutes, psychiatry residency training and so on, about Reich. So I was all by myself. However, I kept reading Reich, and I kept somewhat experiencing his theories until I discovered the museum of Reich, and I went to museum, and in museum put some summer conferences, and in one of the summer conferences I met Dr. Morton Herskovich, who was a student of Reich himself, and he at that time still is in Philadelphia. So I was driving from Boston, Massachusetts to Philadelphia. I was seeing him there every 2 weeks or so. And I progressed to the extent that I don't think that without Reichian theories it is possible for me to practice psychiatry. Now that I a little bit talked about how I got to know Dr. Reich, I would like to introduce Dr. Reich, who he was for those people who might not know him. And the best introduction, I think, is a short movie that museum has made. So it will be informative. It's about 20 minutes movie. I'll first show the movie. It will include some of his theories, and after that, I'll talk a little bit how Reich grew away from psychoanalytic theories from Freud, and how long did he progress, how far he progressed. This is going to be a little bit lengthy. I hope I will be able to wrap it up in at least 1 hour and a half. But it is cover to cover, so-called, as if you want to read one of the Reich's books, such as Function of Orgasm. I'm going to squeeze it in 1 hour and a half, so it might be a little bit difficult. Just bear with me and get as much as you can get from the theories and his work. So for now, Dr. Rao, will you please make the... I want to say one more thing. Why I wanted to have this talk is because I benefited immensely from Dr. Reich's teachings and his treatment approaches, both in my own personal life and in my practice, and I think that we are obliged to share it with others when we ourselves benefit from something.
So there's coffee and cookies in the corner if you want to grab some refreshments for the movie.
Maybe afterwards.
Or afterwards.
In the 1930s, Dr. Wilhelm Reich, a prominent Austrian physician and psychoanalyst, discovered a powerful new physical energy, and for the next 2 decades, devoted his life to the investigation of its laws and properties. He confirmed the existence of this energy in the human body, verified its presence in the atmosphere, developed instrumentation to observe and collect it, and harnessed it for a variety of purposes, from cancer treatment to motor power to weather experimentation. Reich called his discovery orgone energy. But tragically, it was a discovery that the world was not ready for. Wilhelm Reich was born in 1897 in Galicia, the easternmost part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, now the Ukraine. He grew up in Bukovina on a large farm operated by his father. Until he was 13 years old, Reich was educated at home by tutors